Welcome to the Joe DeLisi Financial Advisor Podcast. I'm Joe DeLisi. We're going to talk retirement today. This is my favorite subject. I find that I have the most fun doing my job when I'm working with somebody who is close to retirement or maybe they're in retirement. It's just fun. I can't really explain it. I've just been doing this for so long, and you've got various things that we have to work on when we deal with a client's balance sheet. You've got debt, maybe you've got insurance, you've got savings, and you've got accumulation and projections. And real estate, there's just so many different things that we can talk about, investing, etc. But retirement planning, for those who are close, it's just my favorite thing. And so it's also a very high stakes game because you can't be old and broke. Being old and broke is miserable. And, I'm not going to let my clients get there if they'll let me. Now, if they won't let me, I can't help them, and they don't really stay my clients too long. But I'll say this, I really, again, in working in this business in almost 30 years now, I just have so many conversations with people that I've had as clients for decades. And I got to say, they're doing well. They are looking forward to retirement, and they have a piece about that whole situation. And that just makes me feel good. So today what we're going to do is we're going to kick off just a 2-part series about mistakes that are preventing retirement and how to fix them. And today we're going to tackle this question that you might ask yourself in the middle of the night, especially if you're not a current client of mine. And that's, will I be able to retire someday? We all work in jobs that hopefully we like them, but you're not going to be able to do this when you're 75, and the paychecks are going to stop coming in, and it's worrisome. It can be worrisome. So if you're asking that question in the middle of the night, or if you're maybe a prospective client of mine, this is great. This is for you. And if you're a client who thinks you're doing pretty well, this might make you feel pretty good too, because you might listen to this and say, oh, I don't do that. Joe's fixed that, or we worked on that, or whatever the case may be. So look, the sad anecdote I have for you really is this, and don't shoot the messenger here. All the time I've been a financial advisor, the percentage of people whom I've met who can retire with a good life for the rest of their life, it's just not nearly as high as you'd think. Now, a lot of times we can fix that, but what if they'd never met me and they didn't know? So, that percentage of people who really are going to be okay in retirement, it's just a small percentage. Why? Why is that? There's so much information out there. And you might think that the biggest reason is, inflation or stock market crashes or just not earning enough or whatever. But the two reasons I found are much simpler. It's your savings rate and your inability to stick to the plan. So today we're just going to cover the first one, the savings rate. Next episode, we'll talk about sticking to a plan. So number one, why your savings rate matters more than your rate of return. Let's just start with the basics. Your savings rate is just the percentage of your income that you save for the future, and this is what you're saving. So we're not including matches, right? So if you're in a corporation and you say you max out your 401k or your 403b or your TSP or whatever, and they match it, that's not your cash flow, right? Just your percentage that you're putting in there is what we're counting. And that's part of your savings rate. And so experts will usually talk about investment returns, and just everything out there is about the stock market. But the truth is, how much you save is far more important than how much your money grows. And in really sitting down and looking at data for this podcast, I found I am saving far more myself than most anybody I meet. And this happened because I could see the damage that a lack of a high rate of investing and saving causes. I could see it. It's almost like a doctor who doesn't smoke because they see the impact. In fact, when you meet a doctor who smokes nowadays, I don't even think there are any anymore. And so you would expect financial advisors to be saving at a very, very high rate. But, that's just not the case across. And it's weird because I think it's common knowledge that we should be saving, but I don't think it's common knowledge as to how much to save. So I was looking at some data. In 2018, there was a study from the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College, and it found that nearly 50% of Americans are at risk of running out of money in retirement. Running out, not living a great life, running out. And it's not because they picked the wrong stocks. It's because they didn't save enough in the first place. So think about it this way. If you save 5% of your income, then it stands to reason you're spending the other 95% of your income somewhere else. I don't care where it is. It could be, it's going to be taxes and lifestyle and food and housing and whatever. All we know is if you're only saving 5%, then the other 95% is going away. In order for that 5% that you're saving to one day generate that 95% lifestyle that you're living right now, you'd require a ridiculously significant rate of return, but you don't control rates of return. We don't know when rates are going to go up and, rates of return come down and up and left and right, and we don't control that. In fact, if you're a client of mine, as we build your plan, we're not looking for 10, 12, 14, 16, 20% rates of return. No, we're not. We're great. If we can get them, great. But we're looking for a much lower rate of return, and we're increasing the rate of savings, and I know you'll get there by doing that. We don't want to hope, I guess is another way of putting it. We want to hope that the stock market bails out poor behavior by giving you a 20% linear rate of return for 20 years. It's not going to happen. So if you save 20 to 30% of your income, well, now it kind of makes sense. Like your chance of success in replicating a 70% lifestyle because you've saved 30% for a couple of decades, it's much less dependent on significant rates of return, again, which you can't control anyway, and come with a much higher risk. And so it's just an easier way to get to where you want to go. It's a simple equation, right? The more you save, the less dependent you are on that high rate of return from the stock market, or even dependent on things like Social Security, which a lot of people I speak with now, they're just worried about Social Security. There's a lot of press out there about Social Security that has my clients worried. Well, they shouldn't be if they're saving a good amount of their income. But this equation is simple, but the why is the thing I think people miss here. Why do we save a higher percentage? Well, yes, it's true that a higher percentage of savings allows us a better opportunity to live that lifestyle we're used to. But if you think about it, it also forces you to live on less now. Meaning you're going to be addicted to a much lower lifestyle later, one in which you're likely going to be able to replicate in retirement and live a good life for the rest of your life and not run out of money. But people are not listening to the savings rate issue in general. This is like in general, again, not my clients per se. The average savings rate in the U.S. is terrible. It's terrible. According to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, the personal savings rate as of 2023 was hovering around 4 to 6%, and that's a problem. I mean, that's just not even, it's not even the entry into retirement planning. And so why are we all saving so little? Well, here's a few reasons. One, what I call lifestyle addiction. And it sounds bad, but we all have it. As we earn more, we spend more. Instead of saving the extra income, we spend it. Look, this is a problem too, because it's not in the human behavioral schematic to get used to driving a $100,000 Land Rover for 30 years, and then at retirement, all of a sudden switch to a $15,000 used car. That causes massive, massive emotional problems in people. Like they won't retire because they can't dial back the lifestyle. They don't even know how. They've gotten so used to it. They're addicted to a car or a house or clothing that they can no longer cash flow, right? Same as eating out, travel, whatever. So if we can reduce that lifestyle that we're used to living, instead of a $100,000 Land Rover, maybe it's a $70,000 beautiful car and you can afford that in retirement. You get my point, is we're trying to reduce what we're living on now so that we can live on a good life for the rest of our life. Number two is debt culture. Now, the good news here, I rarely actually find that my clients or new prospective clients are in consumer debt. It's just rare. What I do find, obviously, most people have mortgages and they might even sign for like student loans for their kids, which I think is a horrible idea, by the way. Different topic. But for the rest of the population, credit cards, car loans, those student loans I mentioned, man, they really eat up income that could be going into savings. And people often, they can't even afford the lifestyle they have now. So they finance it. Now, again, if you're listening to this podcast, it's not likely you're in that group. So we'll just kind of say debt culture, number two. That's not really us. That's not really this community. Number three is short-term thinking. We all have this problem. Like most people just focus on the next paycheck. They don't focus on the next 30 years. And it's not a financial phenomenon. It's people think of eating the dessert or the pizza today. I had an entire pizza last night at our favorite restaurant. Now, it's not like a Domino's sized pizza, but it was big enough. I ate the whole thing. And why? Because I'm looking at, it's delicious. I'm looking at it right there. It's sitting in front of me. I can smell it. It's wonderful. I'm thinking about that, not the impact on my health in 30 years. And that's what people do with finances. They think about the pool they want to put in the backyard today, because they can envision, maybe their kids or teenage children having their friends over, whatever the case may be. They're not thinking about, will this mean that I can't get out of corporate America at 62 or 65 or 58, and instead I have to hope I can hang on till 70? Nobody thinks like that. Frankly, it's my job to point those things out. So how do we increase savings rate? This will sort of be the end of the podcast, and this is going to get a little uncomfortable, so just buckle up. And the listeners to this pod, I think, fit into 4 categories. Obviously, current clients listen to this who are, and we'll say there's one category is current clients who are on track, and you know who you are. Then we've got current clients who are not on track. You're off track for that retirement, for funding retirement. Number 3 would be prospective clients. And then finally, and this is always surprising to me, other financial advisors that listen to this podcast. I have a lot that listen to this, and which category you fall into is going to dictate your level of irritation at what I'm about to say, which is, look, the only way to increase your savings rate is to sacrifice something. That's just it. Tips and tricks are not going to get you where you want to go. They're just not. My clients who are on track for retirement are either nodding their heads in agreement or don't even feel like they've sacrificed because we've just normalized the behavior for you. Those who are off track are probably upset with me right now because they know I'm right, but the reason they're off track is because they're just not willing to sacrifice anything. Whether it be, the kids' school or the clothing or the trips or the pool or the car or the what. I mean, it's, and look, I'm not pointing fingers. I mean, I had to work on this myself to save as much as we do, and we give up certain things because of it. So I get it. It's not fun. We all want everything, right? We want the retirement lifestyle today and forever, and that's not how economics works. Now, the prospective client may be worried right now because they don't really know which camp they fall into. If that's you, just give me a call. We can figure this out pretty quick. And my fellow advisors out there listening, they're probably in total agreement, but here's where I'm going to lose my colleagues. The path to higher savings rate is not in cash flow analysis. It's not in budgeting. It's not in sitting down and figuring out what it costs to go golf or what it costs to, go out for dinner with your girlfriends or whatever the case might be. The path is to just stop eating cupcakes, which is like a phrase I like to use with my wife all the time. Like, what does that even mean? Well, think of your health. If your blood work is a mess, what's the quickest way to fix it? More analysis, like another blood scan, or just fast action? Just stop eating cupcakes, or maybe in my case, pizza. That's going to fix your blood work quicker than analyzing your food. And sacrificing to save immediately is the way to fix your retirement issue rather than an Excel sheet of where you spend your money, or which mutual fund to buy, or which stock to bet on in AI, which you don't even know anything about. Look, you pay your taxes without a cash flow spreadsheet, so pay yourself without one too. You don't get to go to the government and say, well, listen, I did an analysis and I can't afford to pay my taxes this year. But you do that for yourself all the time. We got to stop that. Right? That's just, maybe a little bit of hard love, but that's where we have to get to on this. So we got to play a game. And the truth is, retirement, it's not about luck. It's just all about habits. Your savings rate is the one thing you do have total control over. So if you want to retire comfortably or even early, which would be my preference for you, start saving more now, today. Even if it's just an extra 1%, it adds up. Like my wife and I have this game we play. I call it, I drive her nuts. That's the game. And here's how it works. In terms of finances, my job is to make the money and to make all investment and large expenditure decisions. Jamie's job is to handle all of our cash flow, all the bill pay. And this works for us. But here's where I drive her nuts. Because about once a quarter or so, I go in and I add more money to our auto savings and to our joint investment account. And if I don't hear her complain, I just assume it's okay. And then I add more and more and more until she eventually says, hey, we're broke. And that's my signal to dial it back a little bit. But before she says anything, she's busy adjusting our lifestyle to make the budget work until she can't anymore. That's a game that you have to play over and over and over. You got to force more savings into the balance sheet. And it's gotten to us a point where we're routinely saving 30 to 35% of our income. Now, I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back. We've worked hard to get there. And I'm not suggesting you drive your spouse nuts, but you do need to make a game of this. just increase your percentage of savings, 1% for a few months. Keep it up until you really feel it, and then keep it there for a while or dial it back a little bit. In our next review, we can take a look and see how you're doing. Look, in my opinion, retirement readiness is the thing really that keeps most people awake at night. Because again, this community, we don't really have debt problems. It's mostly spending issues, I think, which is a total solvable problem. The debt issue is much more difficult to solve. And if you're not really sure how you're doing on the savings part of it, like, call me, shoot me an email. Maybe we even just had a review, but you're just still a little uncertain. Let's just figure it out. We could do that in short order. Piece of cake. Look, we only get one timeline and one compound curve, so to speak. We can't go back in time and restart. So let's just make the most of it. And that's the end of our first mistakes, right? The mistake number one really is lack of savings. We can fix it. This is an easy fix. The next episode will be more on sticking to a plan. So a couple weeks we'll come out with that one. In the meantime, here is compliance. Registered Representative, Financial Advisor, Park Avenue Securities, LLC, Pass OSJ 5280 Carroll Canyon Road, Suite 300, San Diego, California, 92121, 619-684-6400. Securities products and advisory services offered through Pass, member FINRA, SIPC. Financial Representative, the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Pass is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Pass or Guardian. Insurance products offered through Westpac Wealth Partners and Insurance Services, LLC, a DBA of Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC. California Insurance License Number OD34103. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice, although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Pass, Guardian, Westpac Wealth, and opinions stated of their own. Guardian subsidiaries, agents, employees do not provide tax, legal, accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, accounting professional regarding your individual situation. All investments and investment strategies contain risk and may lose value. Diversification does not guarantee a profit or protect against market loss. Equities may decline in value due to both real and perceived general market, economic, industry conditions. This material is intended for general use. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities LLC and your financial representative are not undertaking to provide investment advice or make a recommendation for a specific individual situation or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Indices are unmanaged and one cannot invest directly in an index. 7619622.1 expires February 2027.